Namo Guru Be Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharmaya Namo Sanghaya Namo Guru Be Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharmaya Namo Sanghaya Namo Guru Be Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharmaya Namo Sanghaya Kanden Laje Gwenje Toga Raga Shosa Bongde Shonze Shöje Gyabo Gwenje Losa Seda Jeba Nende Shepso Denje Nanga Sende Bende Chizu Lama Jebe Zonga Dalo Nebe Suna Shi Tenpa Yeje Geja Shuzo Sheje Chungwe Jabe Lotu Kesa Nabe Jinju Leshe Tabe Beje Alhamen Zebe Tongze Tembe Lende Yewo Chiye Nazo Mezo Tishen Dobe Nansen Tija Weisha Yizhi Chudin Jiazo Shenai Xinzhuo Qiela Qeba Kanxi Tongmen Dine Sampa Lunga Yiso Mige Jinji Kebaran Dongba Sumji Yingli Yuba Zhabi Soso Yingmen Zide Mangdu Rula Shuje Mangben Zenju Zenyu Gongbo Juje Labjin Zeba Daja Samba Tabi Yirang Jizi Laman Damba Kenan Shugui Kala Tenzin Dorjee Chida Samben Duje Sima Sabje Chuje Chawa Abdu Namda Vese Yingle Shim Songju Gula Chado Minga Tame Nangu Sugu Rab Sidi Bandu Minu Demba Dazo Jini Sabi Gewa Dendang Zhuwa Gunla Kebara Jizi Losan Zhaba Denbi Ningbo Ho Ziji Mingme Zebe Dejin Jeri Chime Jimbe Wangbo Jambe Tubo Malu Zhong Kanjin Kebe Zujin Zonga Losan Tabi Shaolan Sowa Mingme Zebe Dejin Jeri Si Chime Jimbe Tubo Malu Zhongzi Sawe Kanjin Kebe Zujin Zonga Losan Tabi Shaolan Sowa 明灭在为得见见为是，体灭现为王不地魔马律中在上为看见开为作见中。大悲小老所望的邦的萨维拉玛仁波，大作九罗边的天书，高定千百国内切磋，古松头节欧洲真多，邦的萨维拉玛仁波。大所宁格拉边的天书了，高定千。说到天目我着这都是邦的造业拉玛仁波，大所宁格拉边的天书高的前辈，常住宁边波。莲波罗如马上觉没写了帕日马耶芒嘎南给我不说说让的一些句，对说你下在路地他嘎的巴拉三嘎。摩地耶娑哈地呀他嘎的巴拉sam摩地耶娑哈地呀他巴拉摩地耶娑给的东大家就写我。灭的日别见到这我，平板出行，大些连阳连累，哎呦啥心别你就爱情有没有多？三界见多，没有的若归那么大解了。解巴拉哟耶那古罗罗那曼的尼扬达哟美，多杰庄南罗张卓巴罗达尼叫多杰，大给去就人杰别从南杰罗罗边杰上杰罗巴拉说。这道所见说那么多，讲究马祖当年要做这，大概是有人级别。这道别这道见这个有所见是道所见。说那老讲究马祖当年，一边说那见着，这上见着马祖说。大讲究马祖当年讲做这，大概是有人级别。说那见着了，天界上见着马祖。随便他也都做这个那个样子，做了生意恐怕是不行的，他们是天线的，他们学生有工就是工农城就是基本上就是在那上班学习。Let me remind every one of ourselves to take a moment and cultivate the highest form of motivation We call it bodhicitta motivation, or the altruistic motivation, seeking complete enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings. So with that kind of at least contrived bodhicitta, altruistic motivation, we should participate in this Bodhisattva's discourse on the perfection of concentration or samadhi.
Dunga tamje seja teme tongde se konje dakje nyama de dewa de dunga me de nyama jo de jinda di tongde se de don diso da kaza dine de da dakje nyam ba tongde ase de da rong dunga de shi dunga ka seja de pa me so go chi ba sonza o ti tongde se o ti ma heri.
Yes. So we are doing chapter 8 on samadhi or concentration, and sometimes translated as meditation. And so those of you who have this English translation of the guide by Stephen Batchelor's, we are on page 120. So as Geshe explained, that we talked quite a bit about the importance of equalizing self with others, called Dakshin Nyamche in Tibetan. And a bit of a summary, so to speak, on this theme is that every kind of suffering is worth solving or resolving or ending, whether it is one's own suffering or whether it is the suffering of others. Suffering is suffering after all, regardless whether it is my suffering or other suffering.
Oh dear, dunga ta se de to de ne te da he dunga le he dunga yang dunga in bi se de da ge se wa shahi rigge rog dunga ne se wa shahi cha he dunga me se she ran she rus she be gone nie wa she ban de she shadi te de kever ye do ju se me be so dunga nyu ge je ran be da me be na ju de ji she be hin sim je gu je dunga ne do wa shahi ja da she ja da se de me de ran da me je ta ni zang de pe de ne sha be da de shen de da ge dunga ye be shi ro te na da dunga me de be Gaden do wa shari so nyam na shen dunga tam ji ja de jan mai be se mai be do rig bo song la chi dunga do wa sha wa me na da dunga te ja sim je shen ji dunga shen do me re ba song so pe ga shi de Kede dona she wa she anda ye ja pe pijir la anda ye be tada shina che deo yang na che je simje she ye dungi che ne dal me ne be te do ba che to me che ba te dal te di me de ho de mo be dungi yang she so je lenta si bichir dag dungi ne minde be kede tin do shari bala yusinyana shizo ngamatar jane sheja shodes 小的，你同丢的东西，他们这现在等于说是，我讲俺们这儿现在历史，那么的呢，上些东西是不是他们这，说我说让我媳妇瞧我，那些年把这点钱的，这样我买东西，这样买他。的买他也就是个说，说一通的，现在他们这你都是他这让了年纪了解呢，现在他们这他就是我觉得这么就是这样吧的，东西现在现在他们这些的东西的。举那个给我求一样的，也写他们呢，过是，这过不了是过不了，这都解释的，那个东西是我现了，没人现的东西是吧？那个没人这样的，我觉得都那毛把这东西样。写说是送把它让给人家能把骗世界是那边我的，写过说特别别往同没接，别把希望继续的，那给是这个干的，这骗这新的就呗，新的就是写着，他俩的样的，马上把这些。能把骗些讲那一诺样的去吧的，那个的呢用样那个的呢用样的说把道路，别那样的别那别那龙邦个没准的，但是也可以接受样不的，能把是能把给是去掉，现实没讲。当年可以接去的便宜了，能把它给去的便宜呗，说提醒的这边是边生讲大明白了，毛边生讲大明白，明白先喏，这拉这这样的，毛边生他这个大明白，那个生意居民的样呗，生意。让都知道些呢，心情心大满一样，大个心情的样呗，你自己同了就被不小我接受，送些开店我看个考中年呗，学习让个同了别的同了别呢，让个同了别的平均这个。同着美女说伢的呢，刚被东西老被没写作，写不到，刚把什么书吧，老被这种东，这些的没有女生了，老把当在普及从帕马等帕马等开始做完了，开始做完了，老把的。说吧，让给同事过呗，我觉得好像这东西，我的大说是这样，可是那呢， 刚别东西那不是也没有，那过东西的可是那不是也没有是，看啥这个那个是还是的，你下些现在这些那你刚刚你还是下些他这边全部都是，现在这什么东西嘛？现在现在东西说我是那个嘛的，现在个东西说的谁个的，谁是几个人的，现在上个东西的现在东西不几个，谁谁不几个。देवा रंग देवा तो ही देवा की दूसरा बच्ची बस ये होती गोदू से इन सब तो खुशी होती है सर
Geshe seems like went back a page or two, listening carefully to what he was reading. I think he went to page 118, stanza 94 to he read 99 on page 119. So as Geshe explained, that when we think in terms of equalizing self with others, we recognize that just as I wish for happiness, others too wish for happiness. We are just the same. Just as I do not wish for suffering, nobody wishes for suffering. So we are same in that regard as well. So given that, to make a huge, big deal about, one's own suffering, as if it's very different from other suffering, is, if you will, a wrong approach or orientation. And it's because, suffering is suffering. There is no qualitative difference in terms of suffering. The reason why I do everything to resolve my suffering because it's suffering. I don't wish for suffering. The same reason applies to other suffering as well. Other suffering also requires resolution or eradication. Why? Because it's suffering. They don't wish for suffering either. Yeah. And so this is how we are trying to equalize self with others on the level of suffering. Nobody wants suffering. Suffering is suffering after all. And so we cannot make a big difference between my suffering and other suffering. By the same reasoning, as much as I wish for happiness and I do what I can to find my happiness, I should be doing the same thing to help others find their happiness. Why I'm working hard to, accomplish my happiness? Because happiness is something I wish for, right? It's true with others as well. Others too wish for happiness, and therefore, it is befitting to help others find their happiness from Bodhisattva's, mind training and practice point of view. If we make a huge distinction between self and others as if self and others exist intrinsically, unrelated, like, whatever happens to me, I should take care of it. Whatever happens to them, they should take care of it, as if we have nothing to do with each other. That is a wrong mindset, if you will. And if that's true, example given in the textbook that we have seen before is, so when our foot get hurt by anything, why would our hand go to help the foot? Because hand and feet are, have almost nothing to do with each other if they're intrinsically different as with self and others. But that's not how we think, right? If any part of my body gets hurt, the other parts of the body, come to its rescue it, so to speak. Because we think all parts of our body as, part of the whole. So in the same way, we should be thinking that whether it is self or others, we are part of, sentient beings. And so that is how we try to equalize ourselves with others. So with that, we are back to page 120. What Geshe read from the commentary and explanation pertains to stanza 104. So the bottom line, what we talk about is this. There is no qualitative difference in terms of suffering, whether that is our own suffering, that's the suffering of others. Yeah. And both self and others do not wish for suffering. So therefore, every kind of suffering, is unwanted and needs to be resolved if possible. So nobody wants suffering, right? That's the reason. why we need to help others get rid of suffering, because it's a suffering they don't want. Just as why do we make effort to get rid of our suffering? Because it's suffering. I don't want it. Okay. So if it's that true, a qualm has been raised, so to speak, that said, if that's true, then they said, why we should cultivate compassion for others, right? Especially great compassion, wishing everybody to be free from suffering. But developing that compassion and being concerned with others' suffering, it is as if we are, bringing more suffering upon ourselves if nobody wants suffering. Okay, so that's the kind of point of contention or qualm being raised. And of course, that will be addressed, because throughout our text, we emphasize the essentiality and importance of cultivating Mahakaruna, great compassion, and bodhicitta, or altruism.
No, this is they are doing it. I'm just saying that they are Russian, like maybe they were doing like Shela. They Russian, like Geshe doing Penny Tong they are Chevy. Not doing it. I just say that they are like Chabaman, Joy, made or she later was. So, then Sura knows Ninja Tage, he doing it. He doing it. Doing Joa Sheva la. Toba Jeba, Suya, Then the Ninja Koma doing Mera, Yajang, Tongshin Chevy, two Sheva shows, whatever the daddy, Kasa. They tell doing time, they says that they were Yina. Rangil de Neve doing it like Chevaris, there. Rangil Pepe doing it, Ninja suggests Pepe doing it, she was, said the Intagmaris. This is in the sooner the doing it, she says, just said that. Yeah, so about the length or you had the Dika to Jaguar is conscious. Ninja Shabukana ya doing it, Yungu or the Shina doing it, yeah, and pay out doing it, the Jaguaris. But this was that she dogma says the Karsa. Smith Tamji doing it, the Seja show, the Goyo Maris. But this is a country.
So in a sutra, there's a statement which says that the suffering of all sentient beings needs to be eradicated, right? And so the point of contention being raised is that if that's the case, then why do we need to cultivate compassion, right, for other suffering? Because that seems to bring more suffering to ourselves, And so what about that? Yeah. So now the response to that is when in a sutra it is said that every suffering needs to be eradicated. So we are thinking suffering in terms of that's harmful to self and others, isn't it? But the suffering, that's related to great compassion, right? Wishing everybody to be free of suffering. That suffering is not harmful. It is, in a sense, beneficial suffering. By developing compassion and caring about other suffering, it helps us to be able to, resolve greater suffering. So that suffering is not the same as suffering that is deemed to be eradicated or that needs eradication. So there's a distinction,
Oh, dear. That did two the sooner than Ninja. Because Ninja there, in it doing it like so doing it, doing it, Ninja legacy, the Tizu Yan, said the Ninja Gyeltsen, doing your Maris. Is it doing it that Jana, the call then, Jibu was Shabu Yatra, doing it soon, and I take your Maris. Nickel then, doing it then. And so doing it, 这个你是见生活到的呢，那做毛不啥啷住的是，现在这里呀，那可是重要嘛的是，我就是我的，可是那个东西在要的，不这个也留什么结果？现在的重要嘛的是，我的现在的送上家。宁夏工作上，东西特别这个下的做梦说是效果的事，我这是个事。
So in other words, that if one thinks or feels this way, that I already got a lot of suffering I don't want. By cultivating compassion for others' suffering, it is as if I'm adding more suffering to my suffering. Why would I want to do that? Okay? Because earlier Buddha said in the sutra, every suffering, needs eradication. So it seems like there is inconsistency or something like that. Yeah. So in response to that qualm or the contention, as Geshe explained, that when we develop great compassion for others, actually, maybe, how should I say, temporarily, in the short run, we may face certain challenges or difficulties, but in the long run, this great compassion helps us to advance on the paths and the grounds leading to great enlightenment, where once we achieve it, we enjoy, great bliss, isn't it? And moreover, when you truly have great compassion, the joy that you experience outweighs whatever little suffering that great compassion might bring along with it. So therefore, the two types of suffering are not the same. The suffering that needs to be eradicated, whether it's our own suffering or other suffering, is suffering that's harmful. Nobody wants it. But the suffering that seems to be related to compassion is a beneficial suffering. We may experience certain difficulties now, but in the long run, it so to speak pays off, because we are going to advance on the paths and grounds, and we achieve everlasting, bliss and happiness.
这是配备农业界吧，接着我们是就这这个，求学什么没多，但在学校年纪讲，人什么就一步那么就现讲呢，大人给农业的农业的是马上我同都浪的是。当然的，先就忙不农业社会稍微就是一部保障就说呢，学到吧，写手是学到吧，是，我这个写的，这个呀，这是个写的，农业这里也不给，有那了，这么写用大呢，小学什么的没多大是啥叫这个大。你嘛的龙巴的上级说呢，你是不是这学么些的巴萨是呀？是不是我的偏多学的？从事民多那是啥的？的龙巴的学学不送过来是，但学送上呢，可能你我个中国的可能听过的些呢，的开玩笑的那个，你不知道全部用过要的，所以说路到啥呢？那。这个龙巴的学么现在就知道我这个他把了怪我的说的计划的说的，有那个计划的是。
So on top of page 121, stanza 106 reads, "Thus the Bodhisattva Spusha Chandra, although aware of the harm the king would cause her," actually it should be her, not him, is a she Bodhisattva, as far as I know, accepted her own suffering in order to eradicate the miseries of many. So as Geshe explained, that is a classic example given here, that so once upon a time in certain kingdom, Buddha previously gave teaching and planted a lot of positive imprints in the minds of the people there. Yeah. So Buddha was gone long time. And this Bodhisattva, by the name of Subhusha Chandra, right, she realized that she could really help activate these positive imprints and help many of them gain high realizations and liberation. But to do that with her own clairvoyances, she knew that the king of that kingdom would kill her. Yeah? So she knew that. Despite that knowledge, she went to that kingdom. She gave a lot of Dharma teachings. She activated the positive imprints of many beings, and many of them gained high realizations. Of course, in the process of doing that, she was, assassinated. And so that kind of like suffering or the sacrifice she made, it really yielded incredible result, isn't it? And so whatever suffering she experienced, is not comparable to the tremendous result she achieved, right? Helping others gain realizations and be liberated. So therefore, the point that's being made is every kind of suffering is, not necessarily harmful. Certain suffering is beneficial to be tolerated. And by doing that, so one is able to accumulate a lot of merit, advance on the paths and grounds, and achieve enlightened state.
Young Java got a medal than the round the Java never show a shade. Round doing Marcella. Round Jibu Save, Jibu Neva go a shade. Tell Marcette, she said, doing is simply more shake doing so shadow. Here, moon, that W did. Here, moon David to source. In the teacher by Rinpoche, payment our Karsa number Taba, Mobile got mobile Jewish show, Jewish songs, the songs. Tingy Deba Shona, Tingy Deba Nubala, yes, Hotel Court Regent, they have a Jew Payajin la, said. Chill sober, Mongbo so Mongbo Roberta on the journey, shows him, changes him, you don't utini, Jevana, Teda show more, Medo Danze Tang, changing to Kundu, Sangu, Nogruji shower, Nede, shows him, show more, tea. Shuma ti corner the shudeni shugba le rejigse simba chemboti rani jiwu podan the sone se ngo gesam kebe se khosa mangbola tengi ji jiwu tena ti nam zoksan the chairman da juwa lai me signe Send corner the two tenum mene pepper chevena corner in doja masende ku da yi sungna san ye dan je teba sung minjuro nyam minjuro song ne se rog sog paje de Jua se chebe chendu perchon ni dinji parla la se so se mo so se mo tihi be se mo shedin la korhin ni mo poja de shones and shoden be se so ja shwa cha ri ya do chang mangbu Chirmundaba Gobatan, Jiva Pawaji Trushi Shedama Chone, Tiri Shema Gaji Jawati Shedu, Tombashi Yuba, Tela Gelonte Suji, Gobanati Gelonte Shakab So Jejin, Ming Yang, Shon de Gulu, Tuburu Toba Le, Ose Mambo Shungshin, Ume Jun Shon So, What's de Shuju Mambo Shuma Tone, Gibbon Joe the Shakbashi Jan, Shakbashi Shakbashi Purjang de Shudin Shene, Swata Baby, Thing the Jewel Sumbata, the Java Dotting the Shake Bashawos. No, then Pembe Dungete, Java Chering Eva, Dolly, Mashido, Nyambes, Tobajebe, via Yino. Titi Jevo Power Tomba Shage Jevo Roni Yimbayang, Tile Songsos, was it the Titi Karsa Titi Jevo Power Jin Tomba Shage, that Jevo Power say I did it. Rigi Jevo Power say I did pay during sort of Rigi, the Dasha Toba Duji or his or the Haje. Jevo Power say I did. Middle that they say, don't get your but if each other middle that say, near the suggestion and simply to show more than Yahweh is the consider you won't go show and simply you're going to show musician, Gabashi shares the in the good song will not just say there chosen more part, they part trade to what they're hearing. And the middle doesn't say they're chosen to show then show your this. And you might what did that you put on Nibatelia, Sinja Mombo shirt then could the Gama Sanji Shombe shirt they hear Pajat said, and the Petaba Tanisha Komata, the Yoba saying, and so that they shirt then she give Kongtong will Jonah Gagahaku, Sina, so Manzi said, in the Tronget shirt them a pair this, and the shirt them a pair, the Yaga, Sinja Diega Mambo, Tabet the old good is. The teacher and you Shemal get on the Gizon the says that shows them that the strong shooters. Don't you she's the bed Gulu to ton of the Womada, the on the Charles Merchant, thousand what tension, and Jeva Jeffries. Jeva Jenny, any Gulu to Shubushi, you tell us to show the Shan, what the share is, what the logic is this way.
So Geshe basically read the whole life story of Bodhisattva Subhusha Chandra, I think recorded in or cited in Samadhi Raja Sutras or King of Concentration Sutra. So according to the record there, so once upon a time, there was Tathagata teaching Shekpa by the name of Pemen Dawa Padma Chandra, if I translate the name, and who gave a lot of teachings in a particular kingdom, and so a lot of people received positive imprints in their mind, and so then unfortunately later a king of that particular kingdom, he really didn't like people following Dharma, and so he tried to destroy the teaching, and many holy beings also escaped into forest, right? And so it was a very terrible time. But then this, Bodhisattva Subhusha Chandra, she, through her divine clairvoyance, realized that once upon a time, that Tathagata, right, really implanted a lot of seeds in the minds of the people there. And now this kind of undharmic king destroyed the Dharma, and Dharma was on decline. So she realized that she could really make a difference there, going there and giving a lot of teachings, but she knew that the evil king would assassinate her. But despite that, she went to the kingdom. She gave a lot of teaching, and which really activated the imprints of many. So many really, it is said, gained high realizations. Many attained liberation and enlightenment. And so she achieved a great result. But then the king got so mad, and king sent the butchers and said, "Just kill this, mendicant here." And the butcher chopped her body into pieces. But it is said that many miraculous things happened. No blood was spilled. It's all milk coming out. Rays of light are radiated from everywhere. And so many incredible miracles happened, and the king regretted very much for ordering to kill this mendicant. And so then he actually did a state funeral, collected all the pieces of the body, and he collected the ash, and he built a stupa, and he confessed his negativities. And so it is said that in the Buddhist legends, so that evil king actually was one of the previous lives of the Shakyamuni Buddha. Later, that evil king who regretted, who built the stupa, so he is the one who became Shakyamuni Buddha, our Buddha here. So that's how it is, the kind of suffering that Bodhisattva Subhusha Chandra experienced was a very beneficial suffering, and she benefited incredibly. So that kind of suffering is not the kind of suffering that we talk about getting rid of, but that's the suffering out of her great compassion and altruism. And so she made a great difference,
Oh, Sumba Tadara Kobe be paying that is Gobe Dashe Nyamba Dungan Seja Dunga Seja go paying the Karasena. Tadara June saw this Kondi Shebe, Sheseba Tadar. Dashe Nyamba Gomalas, Rang Semdi, June, Sheshe Koba Juba, Keys, Bime Luro Ye, Sudu, Shem Ye, Dunga, Tata Sala, Tajudu, Mombagawa, Tishe, Tazo, Joa, Tona, Perna, Medo Beme, Soji, Sions Gome, Shuzo Yidon, Ru, Shangang Wadan, Gash Joe, Joa Tadu, She Dungalis. Dungulan Dobi Shed Ron Dungi Shebo Shuaya Laya Devasibe Sugone Neve Nana Neja Radu Misibe Dungeta Debe Namie Paya Rangi Nange Ge Troshindu Junumber Jode Ninji Pekar du Chuba Da Jibu Shedon Bashila Showe Yi Dungi Chungse Mera Shingi Dungi Sewe Tondu Dungi Shebo Chang Newa Minju Shero Teta Jenle Shedon Tsunshi Ningshi Danyi Ne Kanse Nami Pala The Gardzimba Tenda Wata Sina Shin Yen Sher Dungi Shwa Namji Kala Jik Che Hedang Changshu Simba Dungi Mi Tsewe Dungi Jirwa Kanga Dela Tongbo Kundu Ta Rengni Shin Ngon Gar Jur She Zo Dang Sangzim Jusim Changshu Simre Leja Kangyi Kobe Temba Ne Sheye Dungi Chi Te Nam Samde Dawa Torni Jang Name Paya Jobashi Deni Water Din Ngasu then tabe tsulu cho jeso o te da zu kumna ne kanso be name dunge zo so nyong na le demo se juba na ki simje shen dong de ya ne wa name jogu shen na le tsaya me o shen ga sto in yo de in simdo kebo gen legris se this other it is toxic shen dunge de seja goma ina la lo kumna so bezo mo go ngong ya jukto wa de rigo res 我这现在的常识性质的农场的我的工厂关系。
So stanza 107, right, reads, thus, because he loves to pacify the pain of others, he whose mind is attuned in this way would enter even the deepest hell, just as a wild goose plunges into a lotus pool, unquote. So as Kisla, explained, that bodhisattvas, as they train their mind to equalize self with others, and they have really developed an incredible what are called intimacy and habituation with equalizing self with others. By the power of that habituation or familiarity, that they are willing to take any meaningful suffering of others upon themselves in order to, help others, even if it means that they need to be reborn in the avicii hell, the most torturous, hell. For them, it is not a problem at all. It is out of this incredible joy and courage and determination that they willingly and happily, as it plunges into the avicii hell, to help, remove other suffering, just like a wild geese, happily plunges into a lotus pool. So this tells us, how every kind of suffering is not the same, and out of compassion, out of this a mindset to equalize self with others, when you take suffering of others upon yourself, by the power of that habituation, really it seems like they don't experience much of a suffering. It brings them joy, and it really ignites their altruism. So therefore, there is no anxiety or any fear to be able to take the suffering of others upon themselves.
我第是，这他们行动高，他们那个是行动就是所动员都落到那个下的是我说，高位电话说的就吧，也maybe 他的这些高位就是所有动员电话上呢，他如果没的时候，他别电话说一遍，他来呢，如果那行动现在动员里啊，现在结果的说的时候。然后到野外头，影响给同学，给很多可能对吧嘞？现在呢，就利用给希望日不西北东西嘞，那么说那影响到你这个上学是吧？对，然后对呗，同里边对呗，东西个家做他也呗，里边看就看一把地你给呢。şokba menem de şimdi kevada pabi deka tugyula keba ti ngomshin şokba yin ki ranchi bu dezum ranchi bu şiddetam tabanı deve rodan çevese tadabu Kita butaba dube chi chashi sheba de diabetes Geshe nam roje tarve chi cha she sumba tar sheba was de shena pede kebes Gaden sho di chuba sheba de pak ba pa iba 때는 랑 지구 시대는 나 대화 쪽에 로주도 대화 이시 때도 다들 거기 시사시는 그 타베 대화세 대화 셔버 지고 되시나 다들 저주세 베시 심지히 등에 제 그 타올로 내야 되나 근데 지금 타바토야 대화 쪽 로요 말이스 그 대화 쪽도 요 말이스 제가 디로지고 타바토비 대화다 타베 디델이야 인생의 지다 시에 대화 셔버 셔버로 이노도 심지어 현동 시발다 대화되다 로지고 타베 대화시나 이 현동 시발디 이 대화치야 요리스 로지고 타바토비 타베 대화데 로데스는 로드 또제 모존 세비 쭈비하고 좋아하면 이제 말이스
So Geshe-la's reading of the commentary and explanation pertains to the next stanza, 108. So bodhisattvas, they find an ocean of happiness and joy, dedicating themselves to help others end their suffering. And the kind of joy that they experience is so huge that even the bliss of nirvana or liberation, seems to be, not that of a big deal. So bodhisattvas are not attracted by the solitary peace and happiness of nirvana just to be free from samsara only for themselves, because they find much more happiness and joy helping others to end their suffering. So metaphorically speaking, right, if you can taste this incredible sumptuous buffet, then a few dishes seems like a blunt taste. It has no taste. So for bodhisattvas, generally we know the happiness of nirvana is really huge, isn't it? But for bodhisattvas, relatively speaking, the happiness of nirvana is really not much of a flavor. What is flavorful is really helping others to end their suffering. That brings them an ocean of joy and happiness. So that's why they choose to, help others end their suffering rather than pursue their individual nirvana and a joy of nirvana. So then in the extended commentary, I decided a few sutras and also commentary on bodhicitta, Changzhu Semdel, to substantiate that point. Bodhisattvas, they have mind, altruistic mind, and they're so intimately, habituated in that mindset. For them, really, it's hard to think just for their own personal gains. They find so much happiness and joy, doing what they do for the benefit of others. For them, in helping others end their suffering is like going to a picnic, and so therefore they are not attracted by the solitary peace of nirvana.
Peter's Chinongi Gawani, Deva showed you a member, Jishi Gawa Tabet, Devani show him. They done told the Neja in a Yamna. Rono Yawato, Yinji, Hedo Kana Dribale, Simjana, Julian Shiwata, jibu sibe dungen le nabar zhuwa na, ingje danyi ji shaoji simba te, rang debe tong likbar zhuwa tukju, gawe jazo ta yewe likbar kongwan zhuwa, kawinba tingi ji ni, shoba menam te, shen chewa de pabe, deka tukju le chewa ti, ngumji shoba ingi, rong jibu shidi zang tawa ni, dewe rodang chewe, te tabu, taban dewe jishi sha xie de, jape tang jeshi so so se, rode tabe jishi sha xie songba ta ru, di xien ben, xien pede jebe, gade sho di chewa, paba yinba, tera tena, rong jibu, shide dewa sho ni, ruju chewa yinu, xie ten dos, o dirda, jidā shi tabe dewa xia zhi zi war di, shi na chengshi shiba xiangdong dewa di le shi na, su su tabe dewa shio mar di, dewa shio ro di che di yori, shi da xiangdong dunga kachi shiba di dewa xia yori, tila di jemu zi zhuwa na shi xin do war di, shi rang shi bi dewa di yomar, do je ma zi kunyi chuwa zhawa di, eni xiangdong di chuwa xia yori, so di zi war ya.
So, in other words, as Krishna re-explained, that in general, we know that the joy or the happiness of nirvana is lasting, and that's something, which is great as compared to mundane kind of joy and happiness. But for bodhisattvas, even the joy and happiness of nirvana is not flavorful. What they found is, because they are under the positive influence of great compassion and altruism, isn't it? And so because of that, they find much greater joy and happiness in dedicating themselves to promote the well-being of others. And that's why they think that altruistically helping others is, metaphorically speaking, flavorful. And so they choose to do that rather than just go and find just their own individual, nirvana. And because bodhisattvas embody great compassion, they are in the nature of Mahakaruna, and that, how should I say, motivates them to work for others.
Oh dear. Xinong ga shou di jiu jin da xin tong de ya shou di jiu jin zhe ka zhe se ne sim jie tam ji ge de be ka sa this was yes pa de ma an chang me ge ba ma wo chang me be ba pa ma xin de ti le de sui ya shu sa wo ji da su su de ge sim ha me ti le ga ga sui wei de wo di de wa di shou de res su ji wo de wa de shou ma res wo di zhe za shoba yuze na simje na je se pa do ma chang me ba che xing tin shi bo yang jiang bei lian du rang ge pa da pian da ne pian da le gu ne na tin le so te ba yin bei se di chen xing cho ge rang ji bu ne de xi de ye wa de to wa de ti jian le ko sa ge xin che xi yo yin bei di jigi sha gu ba teni maybe so kaza teni maybe so hindu shiva di taba ya shala taba jode roma lu rangshin unjuru ze kangi digi shiva nyene shala junga te shen shiwa chiva che yonde namli ni chungse zangshi tsegi jushi nyinga ken xie so xie zhe xin du song ba da ro si wa tere da ka sa xie dong ga ye chok ba ju de de sim xie tam ji be ka sa su su ge pa ma chang me ba xi wa di chi le su ba su chi le je de wa di ha ko za e de ga wa de de ne e ne be ka ji ru ka ji de le ya e ne be sim me su ba za ni ya ma ri si 现在咱行动把一些做的着，所以台湾的下来做这个是，不是台湾主要老是要两年的小个马的事，或者是我的。
So as Geshe explained, Bodhisattvas do not find, the joy of personal nirvana, attractive or supreme. Actually, they find supreme joy in helping others, out of their great compassion and altruism. And one of the reasons why they feel that supreme joy is because they realize that sentient beings have been their parents countless times. So the sentient beings have been tremendously kind to them, and now they have an opportunity to repay their kindness by dedicating themselves for the betterment of sentient beings. And because of that, they find supreme joy in promoting others' well-being. And they know that, solitary joy and peace of nirvana is a trap for bodhisattvas. It's not something they would like to fall into. It's a trap. And so therefore, as they dedicate themselves, for the well-being of others, along with that, bodhisattvas also grow spiritually, and they're able to find their enlightenment. It's not like their enlightenment is dropped on the way, right? But dedicating themselves to others, right, as a byproduct, right, indirectly, by the way, their own enlightenment, is taken care of,
这些他众多的同学提醒了这就是多得劲的，甚至都是你谁把那把呢？都爱没事讲讲，也是同时那些们，现实用的讲也听不来，没学过，那么多给我闹着老的那些，老的那把你我那把。就跟着享受生命、享受全面养不跑的决心没，特别现在让热死那么多，那片吧，让你多一些讲，多你讲跑的就把些送了，这让东的台湾那样，热的没讲。行动把现了，他不是搞决定得到人呢，行一头西就，你行动的高阶的娘把的，挺些不些，正说娘别弄生也没把事，没把他，这等你行的同学呗呢，我在没说娘这把也没了，他就得行动把就知道了。我不搞修把迎接，写了偏把写为练的，那么一直为叫我起码了，让了我的大部中的热样没多少，我听不到，但从是没的是热没有啥，就是好像，但是所以说台湾主要个别，上个国家的要强制生命，上街头也意思，甚至他这个多的别。现在你那边这的，就是刚刚那点的个，他把他也嘛意思我的，可是我这个那偏吧是说，就哦，现在到做这就没看我到过这样的，这生活说呢，上家跑去做的是，但是这生活上面些，现在就可能都有可能是要生活就当的呢。所以讲那边他把这生活上嘛当呢，这他把他也他这人我嘛的说的，就这个意思。
So as Krishna read from the extensive commentary in which, there's a citation from Sutra Alankara or ornament of Mayana Sutra, Dodegen. And so Buddhists, they realize and very aware that seeking personal nirvana is, as a matter of fact, obstacle for them, to achieve enlightenment for the sake of others. Okay? Whereas out of compassion and altruism, even if they plunge into the avijji hell, that kind of suffering is not an obstacle to achieve nirvana or enlightenment. So bodhisattvas are very clear about that. What is obstacle on their way and what is not an obstacle, and so therefore they choose, to face challenges and difficulties, to promote others' well-being, because they know that is not an obstacle, right? Taking upon others' suffering out of compassion is not an obstacle for nirvana or enlightenment. Whereas if they ever develop, like, okay, forget about others, I should go my way to nirvana, then they know that is an obstacle, that is a trap.
The somebody that come paying is that, and the king doing it yourself to come paying it. Paying it, that you saw the Kundi she Simba, Titter, Dakin Yamagombe, Rang Simji, June, Shijin Komba Sheva Ti, Ti, Bizon, Bime Lundge, Tunji Hingi Don, Bime Lundge, Tudu, Simji Yugui Dungan, Tada Hiwala, Tajugdu, Nombar Gavi, Tishiwe, Tasu Jua, Tongwana, Pena, Medo Peme Toje, Yons Kame, Me Shui To Yidonwa, Ru, Changambana, Gashim Joy, Tsuji Juba Star, Xie Dungen, Dobe Sher, Rana Dungen, Chebo Chunga Layang, Devase Begone, Never Nang Chang, Rabdi Missebe, Dungen, Tang Dembe, Nami Payang, Rangang, Kutoshi Junumba, George, Ningji Hiwan Juba, Jibu, Shindon Bahila, Shoy, Yi Dunge, Chungse Mela, Xie Dunge Seve, Told Dunge, Chembo Jang, never Minju, Tedar Genle, Dote Genle, Shindon Zunde, Ningji Dani Ne, Kanse, Nane Pala, Gardzimba, Tenda Dani, Tenda Wata, Siena Shin, Tensher, Dungan Juan Nanji, Kalaji, Chedam, Chongju Sim, Dungan Me, Dungan Chiva Kang, Tella Tambu Kundu, Reni Hindu, Mungar Jir, Chongju Simde Leja, Kanshi Kobe, Temba Ne, Chi Dungan, Chitinam, someday Dawa Tony Jang, Name Bayan Jubashi. Then was de Nga, then the Tabe Sulu so, Jesus, or Tia Dakaji, Churches ever big, Chenon, Skajija, Shibuji, Sabas, Jashabu, Nabu, Shibudes, what is your Dakaji? Changang Balbe, Yawa, Namil Jugushon, Namba Sol, Shibanashi, Gama, the Telia Tanashin, and the Tanu, what did the Jukta or Yunguris, Tatu Komson as you.
So basically, Geshe read the statements quoted from Sutra Alamkara, Ornament of Sutra, statements cited from commentary on Bodhicitta, Changju Semdel, just to substantiate the point which we already Geshe explained before, that just as wild geese joyfully plunges into a lotus pool, bodhisattvas, out of their great compassion and by the power of their habituation with exchanging self equalizing and exchanging self for others, they are able to, dedicate themselves for the well-being of others instead of pursuing nirvana, which they see it as a trap or an obstacle. And as they pursue the well-being of others, they're very joyful. And the kind of joy that they experience, they regard it as a supreme joy. And they do not feel any mental suffering as they face challenges to help other sentient beings.
我听他们行动一搞呢，到处就把明白，听了这些的搞研究，特别到的少一辈，这等于一通的年轻人的娘呢，让到丫头的一些人让给行动可能拉巴来，是不是那呢？就利用这希望这部西北东西来台湾，那么做完呢？ 你这等于建议城市是吧？对，然后对外同里边准备，突就个月是家族他也吧，因为里边可能就话可以把第一季呢，说吧，面对是现在千万的旁边，那个突就了，这边，第五是说吧，已经。 然这个现在咱们讨论呢，dewe ruotang chewe, tetabu tabak dewe cheki cha che heba de, jabe tang jeshin nam so se, roje tabe cheki cha he zungba, heba taro, di hen la pende chewe, gade ni cho di, chewa di pakba yinbi, tela se, tuyone, ranjibu tabe, ranjibu hide dewa cho, dewa cho ki roju tabu chewa yinshi, ten do se, o tir da di tanda shikar shi o se da, so ji wo taba jab thong ye shi ati, to je mo ro cho jo mo cho yo ma ris. In simje ta su dunga che ato so ta ati ro cho de mo cho di jo ris. O te yak jo ris, se da cho ji se ba zi le so ta be de wa ti ge sa wo dong mo ri, che dunga che do ge, je sa wo de koran ge ne, rong do de she do ga ti drop do ris. O te jo.
So as Geshe read from the commentary, and so for bodhisattvas, as we stated before, metaphorically speaking, seeking their own personal nirvana out of samsara, and that kind of a joy is not flavorful, whereas out of their great compassion and altruism, promoting the well-being of others is very flavorful and very satisfying for bodhisattvas. And so that's why bodhisattvas are not attracted by the personal nirvana. And by dedicating themselves to others, they also realize that they're able to fulfill the purpose of both self and others. So we will stop there today, and we welcome your questions. Yeah.
There's one clarification online. Did Geshe say that King Viradatta later became Shakyamuni Buddha, or was it Bodhisattva Supusha Chandra who later became Shakyamuni Buddha?
Okay, it was that king, if I'm allowed to say, the evil king at that time, in that land, that was evil king, right, who destroyed the Dharma. Yes, that king later became Shakyamuni Buddha. Bodhisattva Supusha Chandra is another person. Yeah, it was she. The king is a he, right? He became the Shakyamuni Buddha later. Did I say the Kiabudi Chula Tajatemba Charles Labrawage? Did I say she had to go to the Wage? Koran, the Chanju Samba Mendo Daze, the Sanji Chunde de Charles Sumbe, Kiabu the Sanji Chunde de Charles Sumberes or Wage, the Kiabu the Charles Sonso Limbage. Chamju Samba method does Sanji Chumde Charles Sung Marwagi.
也不提那个提，但是也不把一起噻，没到到这中间的，对对，但是多把举起过考察的时候。
So that king who actually ordered to assassinate Bodhisattva Subhush Chandra, right, he later, right, became Shakyamuni Buddha. So now when we look across lifetimes, we say that that king and Shakyamuni Buddha share the same sort of mental continuum, right?
Thank you. I just had a quick question, actually, or I guess maybe two clarifying questions, but it's from a previous chapter. Is that okay?
Say it again.
Oh, it's from a previous chapter.
Oh, yeah, I think so. That's fine.
So, and it's also from this version, the older version of, so I don't know what it compares to the version you're reading, but so my question was from the chapter Guarding Alertness. And stanza 41 says, those who strive by all, stanza 40 says, with the utmost effort, I should check to see that the crazed elephant of my mind is not wandering off, but is bound to the great pillar of thinking about Dharma. I was just wondering if he could perhaps like elaborate on perhaps what that means, because Dharma is obviously a huge topic. So by Dharma specifically, I wonder what Shantideva.
Say it again.
I was wondering at the last sentence of that stanza, it says, to the great pillar of thinking about Dharma. I was wondering what the Dharma part, does it mean something specific, like a specific aspect, or?
Okay. Right. So you read which chapter you said?
It's the Guarding Alertness chapter.
Oh, Guarding Alertness and stanza?
Stanza 40.
40?
40. Thank you.
Quran Tiwa Xue Di Rawagin. The Tenshe Tendang Dine Redwagin. Chidu Kan Ya Di Nangi, the Dilia King Geshe Shironas, Rawagin Shua Di Sum Just so good. Some just so stanza 40. With utmost effort, I should check to see the crazed elephant of my mind is not wandering off, but is bound to the great pillar of thinking about Dharma, right? That's what it, okay, good. The Karso word again, Tanda. Liu Ngaba de Rawagin, Tenshe Tendan Dine Tiwa Shun, Degree Rawagin, Liu Shamba in the Degree Line Bagin. Dinangi, Quran Shue the Dirigan, Tandanganzo, same Langbo knew about this Rawagin. Any Tembe Tagbe Bigi Kasa Churgi can Karada, Kawa Rawagin, Kawala Tasa is your Rawagin. Shuji Kawata said the Chur the Mixe Kawako or Resa Rawagin. Shuji Kawala Rawagin. Same Langbo knew about this Rawagin. And Tembe Tagbe the Shuji Kawala Tala. Shuji Kawasa, Shu the Kawako Resa, Mixer Kuji or
大神可是每天看人呢，对他切嘛。他现在当现象就可是中国是吧？现当现象是现在这个。你没管了，看现在啥多看人呢，超过是吧？可是现在这没管看着没关的，我这没管他了没呢？哎，你看英模就是没管他了，把当作下的这样。特别他规定高大赛的，这高大没点高的，高是没点的大赛。
So Geshe said that last line where you asked about the great pillar of thinking about Dharma, that could be taken as a generic term, which could mean depending upon whatever your focal practice is. That in the case of our current chapter, we are talking about equalizing self with others. So we can say that's the pillar to which we should tie our crazy elephant mind with mindfulness. But any other practice you're doing, right? We can say don't let the mind wander, but the crazy elephant of the mind should be tied with the rope of mindfulness to that practice, whatever. In general, as Geshe said before, to cultivate calm abiding or shamatha, right? Any focused object would do. So that would be, we say, the reference of Dharma, right? In that sense. Yeah.
我记得在浪波这边的，不浪波去别读下去呢，高安那不大现在那怕就是那把修嘛是吧？我在那个什么的，没管了，我大现在那的什么康修模式啊，这个年把作用嘛了，这是他没管这个是新年出的大，我的大说的什么康修模式了，可是看到可把当天这头要下手呢，那是不是大绝了？我第四我在。
Elephant trainers in India, so they would tie elephant to a very strong pole, isn't it? So that way the elephant cannot wander around everywhere else. So that is the metaphor being used, that if we develop this single-pointed concentration on a focus of the object, right? Especially if we achieve calm abiding or shamatha, shine, then our mind is really going to sit unperturbed on that focus, isn't it? If we have such a state of mind, then our practice would be incredibly powerful, right? And if we can't tie our mind to the focus of the object, then our mind has the habit of wandering everywhere, right? So it needs to be tied to a focus. That's needed.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask about another stanza? So it's actually 2 stanzas after that, stanza 42.
Yeah.
It says, however, if I am unable to do this, when afraid or involved in celebrations, then I should relax. Likewise, it has been taught that at times of giving, one may be neutral to certain aspects of moral discipline. I didn't know what that meant, so I was just wondering.
Which one? You must stanza 42?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
If I'm unable to do this when afraid involved celebrations, then I should relax. It has to be taught that at times of giving, one may be indifferent to certain. That the name you order again. Because a show like a chick again. That show like a chick in young on the documentary, the engine now you have the shoes and king, but surely the tool is a king of some again. Dig what this again. That kissy, and young under the demo or again. Demo didn't say the Kali Imbaina, and that same day come equal Tatu Marwage. She didn't send the test mal or Islam Sarwage. Pena Yamlet 7 and Zamzamlia, and a Chimbe Yamlet Chidu Kalia, and a Chudim Girawage. Zamzam Chimbe Yamlelia, Jubikadulia, Chudim Girawage, Chakashalia, that there's part Rawage. Tangyam Shagway, or resting in the Swedish Wage. Or did they say on us again? Distance again. Sometimes Chimbe Yamlen le Chig the Jutu call it Chudim Yamlen la Wage. There's pa Casoda, did what? Pates Calfeber Shagways. Did it you again? Yes, or dig decision on us. Dimenang did that saying it one day.
This was that. Kaji Jimbar show of the Tidum, the image of Tango.
No.
What this in the Tidum to be some pain the Tidum you dedicated Sango.
No.
This sounds like Tidum. You are the Palado. This one.
Law.
Jimba the Zoo, she had a Jimba to call Jimba Yago. Tidum de la Tonamena.
No, Larva.
And it got Tidum pain to get some of them. The daughter at the Tidum. Oh, I share.
Not again, soon again.
Tidum go around you, the son of course on. Young Jimbaji was so they are Tidum Yata at Lado.
Did him again, did him again.
Show me the identity.
And did him again. Shoot him like this, not in about her, she said when I did the side. Shoot him something.
Seba to Tidum do this
order already.
Oh, this one, see the Tidum is paying to some of the words. You do thought to go Tidum. Tidum and you take a
I think I should find, I don't know if I could the Tibetan, because what I said, Geshe is explaining something else. Unfortunately, let me see. This is a very different textbook. I have Liu. Well, it's not in any particular order. Liu did it on the Kasataki Tenshin Liu Ngabadi. Shantideva liu ngabe nal ya tagi ke semji langbo nyomba pika tasa shebage di Shantideva liu di na tagi semji langbo nyomba di tembe tabe ke chuji kawal tagor labrwage di wog sikje chik ni ba darwage termo yorwage kibudang de kan sigarwage dinde kalia ani kalso yang chik sem pika mikbalarwage sema de test ma lego res lai chin sarwage Digi pera bodelia chimbe nyamle labde inarwage zamzam churimli ya test pass shaqwa within your lamiroge di sir di digi gendi chiksida Geshe is trying to find the stanza, right? I think if right stanza, then Geshe explain. If I translate from Tibetan English, Geshe is taking in a very different direction. So it's not working. But unfortunately, I don't have everything handy dandy in my thick book here. Chenshegi gendi do dagi semje langbo jido ge di wo sikje niba de shege sikje tanga jimde shibju shinyi ba de sha semje langbo se sikje shibju de do tanda de shibju shinyi de ke namji di sungre be ge namji pena jik chimbe nyamle che de de gala ke se yam chudim test jik di nyam da yagu do mena test ma sha ko de sunye je mar be ge
So this is that the case and the course. Sedum mazum sudayan rajar this is but today shows on the sedum corner young yonder yes and local race. This doesn't go sedum hoyan do my right.
Di rem de gen de di terwa ken sunye de da gen di rwa ki ta ine di chikje de ta da dum de gen gen ye so o di ni ba di o di chikje ni ba chi o de ba lo sha da da de 어디 어디게 어떻게 들으시게 직접 비 기실라로야 되게 어디 that's the right here one 겐디 줄어서 겐 생각도 겐지 생각에 예
Curse the Lord. My long with the Lord.
겐 시샤나 그래서
My Lord, you were there. Get up again. Kawasi.
Jinla Pawi, who's the ritual?
Jinla.
Pawi,
Jinla
who's the ritual?
by course. Rick Toy. Tatung. Couldn't get Nidung kill. Jigde Gawa Nuru Rab Super. Webe Pumba Tumbo Si Mami Pension by Gashi Cho. Gashi Cho. Che de Raman Nani Shime Tung Masum Chamchu. Yeah, number no. No. Number no. Number no.
이게 loss again 이제 들으시 again 괜찮지 디너 잘 geller면 얘로 지금 더 누가 벌써 하게
Some being you did some job. How I look.
我是现在罗的是不是新一的你把这真是新一的话这些是不是新一的是这么对不对好了我现在能够说的有点说完对我在理的件事我对跟下跟Jigdan Kaden so del wars Rovage Kelte Minu Chider Chas Rovage Didar Chimbe Tu Tadu Chudim Tangyum Chavar Sung Sage Odige
this is
어디게?
Jimba Yamli Shiva Kabe, Jimba Koraga shook Gabshe, Children Samoko, Marisi.
That the Kaden Chidu Kalia, and again, the Kedi Minu Chidder Chesna, and it make them sharp to the test Shash and the Gursu. That is a Jawa again. When a Tudun, the Kaden Chidu Kalia, Mignelia, some of them, meet the party down the Roge. Did it test Shash and the Gursu? With them.
The children younger children, Jimba Yamli Shiva, he had all the answer Yamdo to Sabjangas Mashis, Koran Sugar.
In the pedi, Kang pedi again. A pedi Tagi stem the Tembeka Tower Roge. That under Tudun, just something you do call a test, marginal hers a Shana Digger, that you said this over. The Tudun and keep it down to the Roge. That same Tembeka Tower Roge. Test my hers and a digger spin and dig turned out the Chimbalaya says the Jabu and not shooting the test, my shash and diggers a deed turned out to survey. The pedant channel.
This was that. Jimba Lava Zonguana in T. Nicola to Sidum Dinyam Sanga Jago Marisu, Sidum Kara Shashi, Jimba Koran condition degree.
Or the perish Shime again. Depend condense some of them again, the perish sona.
Person Dira. Did the Lega Carson, Dicon Jogon, Kora Samata Digama, Tina Lega Mo Samata, and the Kodegati, Katu Duya till Geshiro.
And digging him out again, jig the Kaden so about Kedin Mini Chidder Chasadi, Casey didn't make what they test my shash and digger score again. Jig the Kaden so del war, Kelty Mini Chidder Chasage. Okay, now I think I'll do my best to translate. I think Geshe explained the last two lines just fine, right? That's the main part, because I was trying to get the explanation of the first one. So where it says, where am I? On page 46, stanza 42, but if I'm unable to do this, when afraid or involved in celebrations, then I should relax, right? Likewise, it has been taught that at times of giving, one may be indifferent to certain aspects of moral discipline. That's how it's translated. So Geshe's explanation is for the last two lines, if your focus is that of generosity, right, that's your dedication, then it's okay while you're focused on that just to live the morality, just relax a little bit on that practice aspect of it. Does that make sense? And if your practice is morality, maybe you relax a little bit on this other aspect. Because whatever our focus is, that will take, right, a larger part of the concentration. We may not be able to do everything else. So that's what it means. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So regarding the verse about diving like a swan in the Avicii hell, verse 107. But you don't have to read it.
Which verse?
107 about like I say, you don't have to read it.
Sure.
How realistic is that for a bodhisattva to be able to go to the Avicii hell? I mean, I'm reminded of the story of, was it Geshe Chekwa or Potowa who wanted to go there, but instead was reborn in a Pure Land. So if a bodhisattva, let's say,
I see.
A bodhisattva may have a very strong wish and sincere wish to be reborn there, but is it really possible?
I see. Sure.
Maybe someone who has very strong wish, they would not have the karma and be qualified to do that. They would not have the karma to do it. Whereas those bodhisattva who has the karma, they would not be able to have a strong wish. They would not consider themselves qualified to sacrifice their body and life. So is this realistic to have to say that a bodhisattva goes to can go to the Avicii hell?
Tagi can deny the Chanju Samba Roagan and Shending Litlalia and Nyawa Narmelia Pego Sumbane and Gangba Sol Dominashi Kabuja Pigger Sumbaroagan. The Koran condition did it. Geshe Chanju Samba did it, took Geshe in Narawage. Chanju Sambalia Shending did it, took Geshe Chambuja in Narawage. Nyawa Nabar Domasiba Roage. Penadingema looked to Jamal so that Geshe Poto chicken Yamne Chiduka Nyawa Sub Taxin the Chikabers to the Wage. Tane di 공부하시는 야활 폐동의 전주선반들을 여러 배서 그러와 전주선반 호랑이 레기 왕 폐고고래 간대를 해서 그렇게
아니 뭐도 되고 생그 똑키고 뭐 이제 여 남이 깨러시는 저기서 네가 사고 여 남이 지금 말아
올라와 따이네 알레 다고 셈기 껍게다
똑키고
신야와 남의 심진 신대 제가 폐회 전주선반을 여
배도 말하고 여 남이 레드는 저기서 신나 배도 말 상지 배도 말 저기서 배도 말
알레로 알냐와 남의 남의 되는 제겐기 전주선반에 폐회되는 여 말아 that's good one yeah
심도 키고
that's right Geshe says this is just a case of where bodhisattvas develop that kind of mind power or determination. But if bodhisattvas, right, there's never a case, literally, bodhisattvas going into Avicii hell because there's no point of going there. You cannot help, right, there. So it's just a matter of, right, their power, determination.
내가 뒤져라 얘마디 로주이도아 단 로원 보이 되려래 그래서 싹다 니네야 얘마 손이 코아 통마면 다다 보디 버들 두두 가지시오리 드려지 두두 될 샤고 찍지 이 샤고 들 숨주타발 나지 들 중에 로지 드려지는 여나 여수나라 애니 저수에 숨도 샤고 말세하지로 어디 지금 거 semkoran po keju jirma to ko lagle ta ya yomara
so this has more to do with bodhisattvas determination, confidence, right? But actually no such case that bodhisattva with such a state of mind would really go into Avicii hell, right? We find many similar passages in Dharma texts where sometimes we said that bodhisattvas have such a courage that even if they have to stay in the hell for eons, right? One day would be constituted by like being reborn somewhere and you have to live there hundreds of eons. That's one day, then multiply by many things, but still bodhisattvas, right, have that kind of mind power. But it doesn't mean that they will be there. Yeah.
But sure. Also, it's said that bodhisattvas can be reborn anywhere through the power of compassion. They could be, let's say, a high-level bodhisattva. Mm-hmm. Is this how it is? Anywhere? Yeah. Obviously not in Avicii hell because he would not be or she of any benefit. But is it the case that they could be reborn anywhere, including in the lower realms, through the power of compassion?
melam gurtop gerwage ke tugo yorosa dine chanju samba de chida chanju samba re ya chanju samba ya sa thobor nebe chanju samba ningji shegor harina sa
yo beji da sa thon me chida chanju saje jo de da semdo jo mo ka bo yin jo ro
no no beji sa tobe chanju samba ro Geshe thinks maybe it has the case with the Arya Bodhisattva's power, not the ordinary Bodhisattvas, yeah. Do we have any on the screen or somewhere? Oh, yes. No.
Yeah.
So then it's yours.
This is almost not serious, but it says that suffering purifies negative karma.
Mm-hmm.
So in trying to prevent the suffering of others, are we not interfering with the purification of negative karma?
Yeah.
A specific example for you. It is said that one should not put to sleep a dying pet or suffering and dying pet, right? Animal, because we cannot really, because the negative karma has already ripened, and even if you interrupted the continuing ripening of it for the time being by interrupting connection between body and mind, nevertheless it will continue to ripen in the subsequently, and perhaps has even worse consequence than if. So it's just doesn't help. Same with suicide or euthanasia. The same thing applies there.
Sure. Koran kandi shoje disagore ke chidang anzo ane tunge nyangba ina rawage tunge digi ane le ngamba ta dugu yo marwes rawage di imbe ina an shengi tunge de chu langba ina konzo ge tunge takse de meba sebu marwes rawage the Rwata Tunga Yamana ko Tunga digi ko leng in Debur ko leng in the Tadu or was or again. That the young module which is saying Tunga the social lamb in Arrow again. and concept tungay takcha liya nöjigi yomar wes korwage. Pena kashik disukdo pena semjin karsa koreta ji pem hado di seju yomar koran legi wanga sida le de chaza nyangchu mena ko le ta dur korwage. Di barul ya ko ngel se shaka jana yan le hangma la ne korwage. Yangjo nyongwa de chagre resdo di kande inas korda. Tangje tungay ke lemba ina mi tungay takcha liya nöjigi rugo marase dis korwage.
타토 이말 되게 다 해두는 렌스야 디코라 소소 페아버지 그게 하루 벌다다 페방 드마래 에도 못도 자타죠
나네.
저
얘네 등내 개버
누가 지금 지레 차야요 데 가보요
나우스 대개 선도 강리야 데 가서 데 소소가 냠래라 지마다 파종와 될라로하게 스카트 펜에 딩게 말씀을 괜찮아서 지 펜국으로
때 페누자 뭐 슈셔모 데 다 가고 이게다 다 모는 자세야 데 페야디 이게 와
So Geshe is thinking that his point of view is by developing such determination, altruism, taking other suffering yourself, it really benefits you who's thinking that way to grow, right? But how much it really benefits the other is like a questionable thing. I cannot say it doesn't benefit others at all. It might a little bit. So in other words, they still have to suffer, right? So he doesn't, yeah. Any other questions behind the glass wall? So with that, maybe then I'll defer to here. I think almost time. Any So we don't have any prayer requests today, and we will stop there today. We'll continue next week, and let's do our Guru's long life prayers and dedication prayers. Hello, did you call me? And me but saying me but so this is pertaining to that stanza about relaxing the practice that you asked. So Geshe has read a commentary from the great Gyeltsen behind me, and which says that the jikpa is the fear, is that if there is a threat to your life, okay, or celebration in the sense that we are celebrating religious events, something like that. At such time, we could relax some of the other minor practices because we are involved in those things, right? That's the meaning of it. Yeah. Lord Jiangzi Yu Zhong Bie Ga Zhen Ge San Peng Wei Ju Dong Min Ba Xin Dan Ba Zin La Wang Do Yi Zhi Dang Nian Chu Gun Jiu So Wang De Ma Wang Da Me Gun Jian Dong A Den Gang Ri Zhong Su Nin Da Se Zhe Zhang Gun Jia Wa Ni Wa Yap Se Jie Zhang Song Tin Zi Ma 西方子定见切为经过这位世界立功长久等着龙道他们这白白白云间对着家族更多下边天上光当切着中白子用作有人特别念龙日的见那边白点吧头天抗日大波下边 Dona Kongmen Zeba Namda Gun Tendang Zhobe Penden Zhongbe Lundu Jumin Chebe Chenle Gesang Duje Dundo Shabden Sho Jizhe Lame Toge Melam Gesang Duje Tendang Zangme Chosong Todo Jido 其他门边这个人着说，让将新给公布在把门做到南界借用这么，说这一拉着他们这 大殿密歇朝给我着，托殿接当罗上亚瓦也，协助三帮人边北远，好的对接中给新年，养着年节王波说话，今天送给强南边面中，代表造瓦说说他吧。那么的最近养的狼巴也罗上今天别多晓得。推中家政农dân养百姓，上中南者长征准备，公中希腊松中这边的代表俺的前部晓得，这边东岸国王不着的，这边的浪西域帮着，准备等等那些长者就给着新。代表朗读故事这道这准备查查念作让上上边的节日过一些路顺便新年全部晓得这上路浪教育点点节民众大学上面世界老天这点点着别晓得今天新年全部晓得说说叫我世界去了昨天他们见送面听来见大家拉上大便的，其他门边的人多说强着心着人不是马街把那解决，结我娘把没把样过年过。陪我说当年大我人不是马街把那解决结我。我的工作别我说少些别见这些没多长，热到07年的烟巴的上街行动没得二八一，如果难道行了这把说看着那边过来新港，现当的我马律准备，现在希望定睛家族。下位10点8度点就接一当咕噜着，慢点那个那样的要命，叫我滚到样的那么的，这面确见白拉龙子，啥的龙姐云的入座，逻辑强给我把牛都说。